every time I hear the intro to that song, I just want to keep playing. I feel like I'm playing air drums or something, man. Like, it's a cracking
You
tune.
gotta tell everybody, you gotta tell everyone this. No one knows this. Tony's actually an unbelievably talented drummer.
Well, that is partly true. Yeah. It's
You
not
gotta give
that it's
yourself credit.
unbelievable. It's very believable. That's the bit that's not
My,
believable.
my,
No,
my son used to watch us on the Irish Bear Show, and my son used to run and go, "My favorite is Tony because he plays the drums."
do you know what, man? The drummer in the band doesn't get enough credit sometimes
You feel
because
that way?
oh, aye. The singer got it. The lead guitar player. No one cared about the bass player. Like no one cared about the bass player. And certain people like the drummer. Certain folk. And
So,
I, and,
so
and
who's your
I,
favorite? Well, before we started, we say hello to everybody. Who's your favorite drummer of all time?
we should probably do that. Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Two Tonys Bears A
Welcome,
podcast and
Lee.
other random musings.
Lee, I love
Lee, how
it.
you doing,
Matt,
mate?
welcome in, kid.
Both, man.
I love it.
Both. I do real drums and air drums. I'm also an expert air guitar player, but we'll come back to that. Favorite drummer of all time is John Bonham from Led Zeppelin.
Oh, I love it.
Um,
I call.
Led Zeppelin is probably my favorite band of all time. But I love Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl's my guy. Like we call it like Neanderthal drumming. That's what I do. Neanderthal drumming. There's not any finesse to it. It's just hard
So
hitting.
hardcore.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like, not in the sense that you get like with like jazz drummers who are like all over the place, but like, yeah. Anyway, I'm sure I'm boring everybody with my
That's horrible.
drumming chat. Although I might actually get like a wee audio just for when we say things that are funny, so I can go. But tell me if that works.
Love it. Love it.
How you doing, man?
So I'm good. I'm good. It's nice and sunny here in Gothenburg, if I'm completely honest. It's been a lovely day. And looking forward to talking a bit of bears. Before we start, because we always do this every single time, are you drinking that?
Water.
See,
I know.
I'm doing it for both of us, right? Look what I have.
Schwarz beer.
Schwarz beer, right? So last week or 2 weeks ago, we were sponsored by Guinness. Now I want to be getting on to Schwarz beer Munchal, right? And saying what's the crack. So I'm going to pop this out open.
Go for it, man.
There we go. There's a little pop and everything. So I'm good to go. You're on the water. I'm on whatever. Jesus, look at the colour of this. Jesus
That's
Christ.
that's a dark beer, man. That's a dark
That's a
beer.
proper stout, isn't it?
Is that do you have to let that settle or can you just fire into it?
No, I think I might leave that settle down for a little bit and leave it on the corner so we can talk a bit of bears and we can go. Cheers, Matt. Same to you, Keith. And I'm delighted for Lee. I'm delighted for Lee that he's not on his own.
Yes, Lee and Matt are our two guys, man. They're always there and we appreciate it. Big shout out to you guys. We need to get both of you on the show at some point. Like, let's make that happen.
We must get Lee and Matt on the show. 100%.
100%. Absolutely. Let's do it, man. But listen, we're here to talk a wee bit of bears. Just very quickly before I do that, though, behind you, is that a window or is that a photo of?
It's a window, right?
Beautiful.
No, it's a window. I'm downstairs. I'm downstairs, so I've left the shed, right? So I'm downstairs, and look at the flowers outside. That's quite nice.
Stunning, man.
I've moved on from my shed of joy, so now I'm in a bedroom of joy. I suppose that sounds a bit weird, but yeah, it does look like a painting. I'll give you that. It does look like a painting. That's cat flap. Love it, Lee. Love it. No comment on that, to be totally honest. Yes, let's talk a bit of bear stuff. Anyway, we say this every time. If you're on Twitter and you're watching us, or X, whatever they want to call it now, jump on over and join Lee and Matt. Don't leave them on their own. Matt, don't leave now. Stick around with Lee. Lee doesn't want to be on his own every time.
And don't leave Ant drinking on his own either. Like, if you come over and let us know if you're having a drink. I feel bad. I feel bad that I'm not having a drink. I should have had a drink, but I was at the dentist and decided I got a filling fell out. I had to get it put back in. All sorts of, and the guy, right? So I know we keep saying we're going to talk bears and it hasn't happened yet, but the dentist that I had was a lovely woman. She's now left, and she's been replaced by this guy who just kind of manhandles your face. Don't think he knows his own strength. digging shit into my gums, and I'm like, mate, calm the fuck down. I'm not going anywhere. Like, we're fine. Do you know what I mean? So, aye. So I'm still sort of recovering from that. I'm on the old painkillers, but we'll be grand after another day or so. We'll be back to normal. What we wanted to do though this week was to kind of have a look at the offensive positions and sort of break down who's there at the minute and what we sort of expect from them this year. We're going to reflect back on what happened last year as well. And obviously, you've got the major X factor and this season with Ben Johnson coming in and the impact that that's going to have. Just as an overall general thing before we start, I mean, what do you think the overall impact of removing the shit show that was last year will have on the team, but then also putting in Ben Johnson, who, again, from what we can see, is this offensive mastermind? Like, what are we expecting big things this year?
We should be. I mean, let's be honest. From my perspective, I couldn't get rid of Matt Eberflus any quicker. By the way, I love the fact they're drinking water out of a massive fucking glass. By the way, that's an impressive thing to do. Now, I think from my perspective, getting rid of shit Matt was desperately needed. I'm on record as saying I wanted him out this time last year. I didn't get it. Don't think he created any culture. Don't created anything at all. Maybe he's a good defensive coach. Let's be honest. But aside of that, there was nothing else there. I think he ruined his extreme, but he did impact the first year of Caleb Williams. So from my perspective, you're getting it in, but also you replaced him with probably one of the best offensive coordinators in the league. And now look, first time head coach. I've said that on record. We see what it's like, but he can call plays. There's no doubt about Ben Johnson's ability to call plays. And what I thought was really interesting is the first thing he did, he goes out and gets our inside offensive line sort. And from a Bears fan perspective, you look at the PFF grades, you suddenly see like we've the number 5 center, I think it was, or the number 10 center, number 5 guard. I mean, this is what the other guard is, someone who has played under Ben Johnson, understands the scheme. Suddenly you're looking at our offensive line, and finally, I think an offensive coach came in there and said, right, the first thing we're doing is we're getting this, this, and this. And I think that can only be encouraging. Included in that is the fact that this guy can call plays. And I mean, from your perspective, Tony, like you must be, as a massive Caleb fan and being Caleb fan for 2 years, this must be like music from heaven, really, that you got somebody in there who's going to put Caleb under pressure, which is what we've all wanted. Put him under pressure and then suddenly create this opportunity where it's like we'll learn more about Caleb Williams this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is, we found out recently how bad the situation was last year in the organization with the guys that were there. And really, you've left your rookie quarterback to fend for himself for the most part, which isn't ideal. Adding to the fact that, the play calling was terrible, the scheme was terrible, the offensive line was terrible. It was never going to be anything to write home about, unfortunately. But you're right, they've come in. Ben Johnson's insisted on having the interior of the offensive line completely revamped. He's brought in some additional weapons in the draft and in free agency, a wide receiver and tight end. And yeah, I think you look at, I was actually watching a couple of the games back over the last week. I don't know why, because some of them were fucking horrific. The ones where you don't actually see them score a touchdown until the third quarter. But there was points where you're looking at it and you're like, some of these guys have got huge ability. You look at Roma Dunze, for example, DJ Moore, when he turns it on, excellent. Even DeAndre Swift. I mean, I know Swift got a lot of flack, but really, when you look back, he was pretty decent. And I think having Ben Johnson with him again is going to bring out even more of that next year. Obviously, taking into the fact the offensive line's better.
Let's start there, because I'm with you. I think DeAndre Swift is understood, if I'm honest, in a Chicago Bears uniform. I think having an offensive line and looking at running back room, like you look at that running back room there, Travis Homer, look, I don't even think you call him a running back. He's a special teamer, really. But you look at Roshan Johnson, I don't think he was used properly. And then you look at the two other lads in Kyle Monungai and Ian Wheeler, both of whom have talent. Well, look, in Wheeler, he was injured the whole of last year, so we don't know, but Monungai looks like a steal in the 7th round. Swift, though, is the one. I think he could be an X factor there because, yeah, he's not great in the trenches, but that's what you want Johnson for. So you get down to the inside into the red zone, you get inside the 10, you want someone to bash it in. That's what Johnson's going to be there for. You want someone to take it to the house and halfway with a scheme fit that allows him to go on the outside. And then you've got 2 tackles in right and in whether it's the new rookie kid or whether it's Braxton Jones, they have ability to get to the next level, which gives space for Swift on the outside. And I think that's something people don't understand. Add in the fact that we've got so many weapons now, and the expectation is that for some reason that Ben Johnson's a thrower of football, but he's run first. Like you look at that Detroit team, like you would forget Gibbs and Montgomery were his 2 main sources of yardage. So I think Bears fans need to see there's an opportunity for Swift here. Do I think we should upgrade at running back? If we got a chance to, yeah. But I'd say the same thing about any position in the Chicago Bears. If we got an opportunity to upgrade at left tackle, if we got an opportunity to upgrade at edge, if we got an opportunity to upgrade at linebacker, I'd do it. But this isn't a necessary need, I think. I think it's interesting what the thoughts are. It doesn't look like, based on the draft, it doesn't, and free agency, it doesn't look like they want to upgrade there. So it's going to be fun for DeAndre Swift. It's a big vote of confidence, in my opinion, for him, and he's got a real chance to be something. What's your take? Actually, here's one for you. What's your take on Roschon Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look back last year. I think he averaged less than 3 yards per carry. Obviously, you get the injury concerns there as well. So there are a few things that weren't great. But saying that, you can see the ability, and there were flashes as well, though, where you know that he's not a guy who's going to get you, kind of big long breakaway runs, but he's going to get you a lot of that short yardage. He's going to be able to contribute in other sort of ways with blocking as well. I think Roschon Johnson hasn't been. I don't think his potential's been unlocked yet. With the Bears, I don't know. They brought him in, didn't know how to use him, didn't see the potential in different ways that they could use him. So I think that there's definitely an opportunity for him to come out. And I think, it's weird because we talked about all these guys that the Bears could sign. We talked about Dobbins. We talked about Nick Chubb. We talked about all these different free agents that they could have picked up. And they haven't bothered. And right now you look at the list there. DeAndre Swift obviously stands out as the number 1 guy. Then after that, you're kind of like, well, Travis Homer didn't really get any carries last year. A couple special teams guy. Manan guy is a rookie. We don't know what to expect from Ian Wheeler's coming off a bad injury. He's never played before. We don't know what to expect from him. So really, you're going off a DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson. And what that says to me is the fact that they're not bringing anybody else in at the moment is that they feel that Johnson in particular has been underutilized, and they can get even more out of Swift. So it makes me sort of think that they've got a plan in place, and I think Ben Johnson's the key to unlocking all of that stuff. In terms of Manangai, I mean, I know you mentioned him there. Like, there's a lot of sort of thought about what he get from. He's coming off back-to-back seasons at 1,200 yards plus at Rutgers, averaging over 5 yards per carry. Like, there's a lot to like with that as well. But I think we have to always remember that he's a 7th round pick. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can put too much stock or too much expectation on what's going to happen with him. I mean, where are you with that guy?
What I like about Monangai isn't the yardage, it's the fact he never drops the football. It's just he doesn't do fumbles. Like, he just doesn't. I think he was in a really tough running back class. I think he got impacted by that because I'd say had he been in a normal running back class, he'd been higher up, maybe a 5th. I don't know. But like, I think he's the kind of guy that will be your running back 3, give you that option. I think that would be great for him. I want to see Wheeler. I think that story is pretty cool. I like our running back room. I also think as well, I don't think it's just those guys who will be running the football. I think you'll see like everything from Burden will be there, from just Ben Johnson. He'll come up with different plays. He'll come up with different situations where you'll see guys you didn't expect to be running the football find themselves in that position, and you might find a sleeper that we didn't expect. But again, whether that's like in soccer, you say it all the time: get the ball into the people who make decisions and make big plays. And if that means getting Burden in a couple of running back plays just for the sake of creating some sort of strange diversion, almost, I can see that happening. I can see a lot more of just different sets being done. I just like the fact for me that it's the offense looks exciting. I think we've got our offensive line, if they stay fit, looks interesting. I think the desperation of fans to get that next running back, I think, is unfair. I just think give him not just give him a chance, but give this running back room, and also their coach. I mean, the running back coach is pretty damn impressive. A lot of experience. People were talking about this man has been a proper running back there for quite some time. Head coach for quite some time. Just as I know it, because I just seen it. Great to have a Cowboys fan on as well. Love it. Bring it on. Like to see that there. Wouldn't be going after getting Zeke Elliott now, I'll be totally honest with you, Irish Cowboys. But still, nice to have you involved, brother. Nice to have you here. Hope you're keeping well. One of the good guys, by the way. One of the very good guys. During my time, you always be messaging me, so nice guy.
There we go. Listen, and I don't know. We don't play the Cowboys this year, do we? We don't play the Cowboys.
No,
but when we do play the Cowboys again, we'll get you on the show, man, and you can give us the.
Also, they got Jack Sanborn.
Yes, but we'll not talk about that because it's a disappointing thing to happen to lose him. But anyway, but I think you're right. I think you're right. I think one of the big things, though, and you mentioned it as well, is the offensive line. The changes that have been made there as well, and how that's going to impact the ability to run the ball, which, as I said, will then further unlock, the potential to pick up more yardage and more touchdowns on the ground. We may as well just talk about offensive line. Offensive line is my favorite part, anyway. So let's have a look at the sort of tackles we've got. Firstly, obviously expected at the moment, Braxton Jones is going to be our starting. Well, we think he's going to be the starting left tackle, but Ozzy Trappilo's in there as well, stating his case. So you never know. We think it's probably going to be Darnell Wright on the right there as well, and then you've got Kieran Amagaji, his second year in the team. A lot of expectation with him in terms of his development, and then you got Theo Benedette, Joshua Miles, guys like that as well, who are sort of like backing up the first four. Where are you with the tackles? Because nothing's really changed there other than Trappilo coming in. Do you think there is potential for Trappilo to keep that left tackle spot, or do you think Jones is going to come back and claim it, considering this is now 4 years into it and maybe we haven't seen that huge jump we were expecting yet?
I think if you're Ryan Pauls in the Bears front office, you want Ozzy Trapilo to take it over, purely on cost perspective. As Lee rightly says, you don't want to be paying 20 million to our left tackle. You don't also want your rookie left tackle. But I think everything that Trapilo you've seen so far, and I'll put the pads on and see if he gets on. But I think there's some interest in one. Braxton Jones is one of those ones where you worry that if you let him go, he becomes that player we think he might be at the next team. But I think this year is about, for me, getting Ozzy Trapilo set and ready to go for left tackle. And whether that's in week 1, whether that's in week 10, whether that's in week 16, or whether that's next season, I think that's the long-term goal, because financially it just makes sense, because then suddenly you've got a rookie contract at left tackle, rookie contract at right tackle, rookie contract at quarterback. And that's an opportunity and a window that you're creating by that. We are playing the Cowboys. Irish Cowboys, get yourself on here, brother. Let's just make sure to get you on.
Reach out, we'll get you on for, I think it's week 3. We'll get you on for week 3, man.
100%. 100%. We might even do a watch along. That'd be great crack. Watch along with an opposition team. That'd be great fun. He's also got, unfortunately, he's got shit Matt as his defensive coordinator, so that'd be fun. But I think from this perspective,
to be fair, Eberflus is a decent defensive coordinator. He's a horrible head coach, but he is a decent defensive coordinator. So I'll give you that. You're probably going to be all right there. But.
You would. I do agree. I do agree with that. And you've got a very good linebacker.
Sorry, I spoke over you there. What were you going to say?
So, look, I think you'll start week 1 with Braxton Jones down at the right, but I really hope Ozzy Trebillo takes that job pretty soon afterwards. Not that I don't like Braxton Jones, not that I think Braxton Jones isn't great, is I just think for the Bears, for the success story of the Bears, you don't want to be paying someone $20 million on a longer term contract if you don't have to. And if Ozzy Trebillo or Kieran Magaji, even though I think Kieran Magaji might jump inside. Personally, because of my son, I'd love Theo Benedette to do something, just because it'd be nice to have a Theo on the team. But yeah, I think it's intriguing what's going to happen there. But isn't it great that we're not sitting here going, Jesus, we have to find some lad in a 1-year contract from anywhere, just pick him up anywhere. We've got real experience. So Braxton Jones is year 4 in the league, Darnell Wright's in year 2 or 3. Then you've got, like, as you said, the rookie coming through in Trebillo. And Magaji hopefully can stay fit because there's a lot of talk about him, 3rd round, 4th round pick last year. And then you've got someone behind it. So we don't need to go out and get a left tackle in a 1-year panic move.
Yeah, but I think the thing coming into the draft for me was that I would have been quite happy for us to be taking a tackle, at 10. It just wasn't the way. It didn't fall that way, and there wasn't really anybody that you would pick after the players that had gone off the board had went off the board until later on in the draft. And Ozzy Trebillo, from all accounts, is looking pretty good. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of develops over time. But you know what?
He looks a bit of a steal, Tony. Like 6'8", 300+ pounds. I mean, he looks. If you're looking for a stereotype left tackle to look after Caleb, he's mobile. He's nasty. I loved his interview where he was like, "I'm learning so much." And then you see, there's a lovely photograph of I can't remember who was beside him. Might have been the center, but he's huge, and he just dwarfed over Caleb Williams. And that's what you want. You want that guy that's going to sit there. And yeah, I think I get your point. I would have liked to tackle at 10 as well, but we think we've done quite well. With this guy looks pretty impressive.
If Trebillo works out, then it's great, And as you say, it means that you've got a guy on a rookie contract as your starting left tackle for the next, 4 years. Well, you've also got your quarterback still on his rookie contract as well, which allows you to do other things with the team. So, that's the ideal scenario. If it does work out that way, you can let Braxton Jones go, or you can, you can maybe trade him. I think you're looking in at the development of Amagaji as well and how he comes along. I think looking at him, he definitely has all the tools to be a success. I think he was just thrown in far too early last year into a shit show and sort of entirely unprepared, so it wasn't fair on him. So I'm not going to overly judge his performance last year in the short time that he played. But yeah, I think we're optimistic about Trebillo, and I think that'll be the deciding fact. If Jones or Trebillo work out this year, we're laughing. I think Darnell Wright is going to be good at right tackle, regardless. Moving on to guard, which is where we've sort of made the most impact in terms of additions in the offensive line. Obviously, the banner headline signing there with Joe Tooney and then Jonah Jackson as well. You've signed 2 guys that are head and shoulders above what you had playing in the interior last season, backed up there by Bill Murray, who again contributed well. You've got Luke Newman as well, obviously just coming in. Chris Glazer, Jordan McFadden. I know how you feel about the guards that have been signed. So whether you kind of want to go on with that or not, I don't know. What do you think about the guys that are behind them, though?
I love the idea of getting Luke Newman as a rookie just behind that. I actually said earlier on, I can see Kieran Amagaji playing in here as well. I think there's real scope for that. Ryan Bates, I know he's considered a centre, but Ryan Bates can play guard as well. So there is a bit of depth that's never been. I can't remember. When's the last time I can remember that our inside offensive line I felt comfortable with going into week 1? And Joe Tooney he's a class operator. Great to have him on a longer term deal. Jonah Jackson did really well under Ben Johnson. Knows the scheme. Love the fact he gets to the secondary pretty quickly. Love the fact that he's pretty mobile. And yeah, look, he had a down year at the Rams last year, but again, this is an opportunity for him to get back into the game, and with a head coach that he knows, our offensive play caller that he knows really well. Bill Murray, I think, is a nice one you mentioned. I think Bill Murray did decent when he was in there last year for the limited snaps that he got. Don't know enough about Glazer or McFadden, but again, it's nice to have a little bit of depth there. And again, as I said, I think Amagaji will find himself there. Wouldn't surprise me if you also look at maybe some of the other tackles that might slide in there as well, just as an option should we have it. I think it's so enthusiastic. I'm so enthusiastic about this inside offensive line because of the money we finally put in this area. So Joe Thuney alone was just a godsend signing.
Yeah, and I think if you look at what we had last season compared to this season, not even, we'll talk about centre in a second, Cody White here, but Tevin Jenkins, who obviously if he's fit, is an excellent player, but was never fit. And then Nate Davis, Nate Davis is a law unto himself. But so you're starting.
We talk about Nate Davis for a while. We talk about Nate Davis just for 1 second. Okay. That's your red flag for Ryan Pauls. There's a few of them. Chase Claypool, Nate Davis, a lot of money spent on wrong characters, wrong players, wrong attitudes, and that's a lot of money going out there. So there is a danger flag for our GM. Just a nice little add-on. But he's got it right in Toomey, hopefully, and got it right in Joshua Jackson, but it must be said as well.
I think that's the thing, though. Like, I think we'll probably, and I know I'm harsh on Ryan Pauls, and it's justified in my opinion. But if it works out that the addition of Tooney and Jackson and Dolman work out, then you can see, right, he tried one thing and it didn't work, in terms of like signing guys like that, like Nate Davis, etc. And then he's went a different route, and he's went, I'm going to try and trade for established players as opposed to trying to pick up a free agent and pay them a ridiculous amount of money, or certainly over the market value for them anyway. So, if it works out, great. But I think you have to look at the interior of the offensive line and think, even so, the starters are better already, and the guys that are playing behind them are pretty much there or thereabouts the same. Obviously, as you say, you can include Ryan Bates in this list of offensive guards as well. But it's that drop off that I still sort of worry about sometimes, in terms of if anything happens to Tooney or Jackson, where do we go from there? Are we back to the same part? But then again, it's multifaceted. It's multifaceted then, because obviously you've got to take into account the scheme, the coaching, and all that kind of stuff that wasn't there the last time. If that was there last year, does that make that line look a lot different? Which is an interesting way to look at it as well.
That's one way of looking at it. But the other one as well is injuries happen. Like Caleb gets injured in week 1. That's the season. Like you can argue that you carry that on a lot of positions. That's just that's just the way sport is. You can't have cover for everywhere. But I do like the idea of getting Luke Newman in just as a rookie to try and at least show that there's a long-term plan, that he may sit there behind a Tooney and just get that way going. Then you look at this group, and I have a few thoughts on this group. First of all, Dolman, I think he's a top 10 centre. Finally, for the love of God, we spent money on a centre that we finally look like he's got a bit of a brain on him. Joe Kramer, yeah, whatever. Do you know who's a sleeper for me? Ricky Stromberg. Really is. Because I remember when he was getting drafted, I know he's injury prone, I know there's an issue with his neck, etc. I wanted him to be in the Bears. I wanted us to draft him 2 or 3 years ago. And now he's kind of snuck in there. Wouldn't surprise me if you find him jumping ahead of Kramer and maybe even Bates. Wouldn't surprise me if Bates gets cut, by the way. But I could see Ricky Stromberg doing better than people think. And I hope he does, because if he's fit, he's definitely something that he's obviously on a low contract, has a bit of experience now. As you said a minute ago, is your backup. That's the hope. You have your backup centre, which then gives us that little bit of stability if it does happen at Dolman. And it will be interesting to see about Stromberg. I agree with you, Lee. It's just that there's something about him that I just think there's there's a player there if he can stay fit.
Yeah, I mean, he's a third round pick last year. It's it's obviously, we talked about him last year in the run up to the draft, and I think we actually probably mocked him at the Bears at points as we were still obviously looking for centers at that point. So it's an interesting one, and what I like about it is, as you say, he's come in after having the injury settlement. He's come into Chicago, and he's now got the I've just been signed by this team. They want to take a chance on me despite the fact I've got this knee injury. And I'm a third round pick that it didn't quite work out the first time around. I'm really going to be knocking my pan in here to try and, become the starter. Like, obviously Drew Dolman's a starter, but he has to have that mindset that that's what I'm aiming for. And as you say, even if it means that he ends up being the backup, who can maybe, look in at play guard as well a little bit. It really depends. Maybe not so much, but certainly the backup center. And then, as you say, you're then looking again at a situation where you went from the likes of Cody Whitehair to a Drew Dolman with a Stromberg backing him up, and then even that you've got the depth you had before that as well in Kramer and Bates. So it puts you in a much better situation. 2 years ago, Ryan Bates was our starting everything. So if you think how far the team's come in terms of the personnel alone, that's huge. You remember how people were getting so excited when they were going to be trading for Ryan Bates, and then 2 years ago they tried to sign him with the pre-contract or whatever, and then the Bills matched it and all that kind of stuff, and everything was fucking terrible because of that. We were totally losing the plot and having a melt and getting far too overexcited about Ryan Bates.
That's
you know what I mean? Like, this is the thing. That's how bad it was. So when you think of how far it's come, it's huge, man. So, that the two offensive guards and the center, I think as well, in terms of how good they are, the knock-on effect they're going to have to the right tackle and the left tackle, whoever that is as well. Because obviously both of those players are younger players who are still learning the craft. The knock-on effect that they're going to have there is huge. The impact of having the advice given to you by the guy next to you in the line and all that kind of stuff is huge. So I think this offensive line, this could be one of the biggest transitions for the Bears this season, is the offensive line getting it right, and then what that does for the offense in general.
I totally agree. I think there's real momentum in that. So it just adds to the whole feeling of what this could look like, and it's what makes it exciting for me as the inside offensive line. But you're going to move on, I'm assuming now, to, do we have a quarterback? Is there a quarterback conversation, or do you want
to do the quarterback, or we'll do quarterback last?
Throw on the quarterback. Throw on the quarterback to see who we're thinking of.
Right. Okay. Right. So let's do tight ends first. Let's do tight ends because we've just signed our tight end in the first round of the draft. So let's do tight ends. So obviously this is just the kind of top four on here. There's a couple other guys, but it's not going to be people that hang around likely. But so obviously Cole Kmet for me is still got to be your number one tight end at the minute. Given the fact that Colston Loveland is injured, still hasn't played a game, and historically, as we've talked about before, rookie tight ends take a bit longer to adapt to the league. We remember Cole Kmet's first season was pretty bad. So I still think Cole Kmet will be the number one tight end, but I think you're going to get Colston Loveland used in ways that he can't do with Cole Kmet just the same, in terms of his movement and his ability to get around the field, stretch the field. I think that's going to be huge when he eventually does start to contribute, that is. Obviously, I know we're going to do wide receivers in a wee minute. It's not ideal that Loveland has missed OTAs. It's not ideal that Luther Burton's missed OTAs as well. Your your top three picks. That's not great, but it'll be good to see him get in there. And I think that Ben Johnson has used that kind of 12 personnel where you've got the two tight ends set up on there as well quite a lot in Detroit, so it'll be good interesting to see how it works out. Durham Smythe and Stephen Carlson, again, they're just going to be your kind of blocking backup sort of fellas. But yeah, Kmet, Loveland, where are you with that just now?
I think Loveland will be, what people don't realise with Loveland is a really good blocker. Really, really good blocker at tight end. So I think you'll find him getting a lot of that to start to get used to that tight end position. As you say, it's a tough position to learn because it's pretty much you have to be an offensive lineman and a wide receiver in essence at the same time. But I think you'll find he'll be used a lot in that way. I know what Lee says about him being a target down the field. We've got a lot of targets, and I think what they'll do is they'll drip feed him in. Smythe's going to be an interesting one as well. I know Cole Kmet is the obvious number one wide receiver one, but Smythe has a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge in that wide receiver room. So I think you'll find he'll be used. But again, it just shows there's depth there. Like it's not just like we had last couple of years. There's Cole Kmet and a randomer we found from 1 year from somewhere that we all thought was going to be great and ends up being shit. So I think from that perspective, again, it shows there's a bit of depth there. There's a bit of thought on it. End of the day, a top 10 pick in the first round, he has to get on the field. But the best thing about this is that he's not forced to. So it's not like he's our only wide receiver threat and he better be good from week one. He can sit there, he can block for a couple of games, he can get used to his position, he can make a couple of catches without pressure and then go from there. I think that's a really good position for a top 10 pick to be in. I couldn't think of any other top 10 pick the Bears have had anyway that doesn't have the expectation levels. And I know we're going to get onto the wide receiver room in a minute, but I think it's the depth as exactly. I totally agree with you, Matt. I might be happier with the depth of the actual starters. I agree. I think there's real knowledge that we've got an opportunity to go and do that. And I'm really excited about the overall squad, as we call it, or roster, whatever you want to call it. I think there's a real, for the first time in a long time, there's a real chance that some bigger names mightn't even make the cut, which is amazing to think about from a Chicago Bears team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the interesting part of the whole Loveland thing is, does it continue to be that sort of 1-2 punch with the two of them and they use them in different ways, or do they eventually get to the point where they think, well, you know what, Loveland is the guy sort of thing in terms of the tight end position, and invest in other areas sort of thing? Because Cole Kmet, his best season was a couple of years ago now, and I keep caveating it with, but last year it was a rookie quarterback, it was a Shane Waldron, it was a kind of a shit show generally speaking. So you're sort of giving some folk more of a buy, but I think Loveland, in terms of Loveland's stats, and I know it's not exactly the same in terms of who Cole Kmet had thrown to him at Notre Dame, but Loveland, when JJ McCarthy was thrown to him, went for like 700 yards, 4 touchdowns, 14.5 yards per catch as well, which was interesting. All of his stats much better than Cole Kmet's stats coming out of college as well, incidentally. Not to mention he is a first-round pick and not a second-round pick. But it'll be, I think, with that high of an investment in Loveland, I think you're going to see him be utilised a hell of a lot more early on than you did see that with Cole Kmet earlier on.
I'll throw this. Cole Kmet's a very good player, don't get me wrong. I think Bears fans give him a massive pass because I'm Chicago and a big Bears fan. I really do. I think we all give him a big pass because he's a Chicago kid, big Bears fan, family full of Bears fans, and we all kind of see ourselves in him. It's like he's that kind of. And I hope Cole Kmet stays in his team for a long time, but I think it's not a bad thing to have another talented tight end in behind him. So it's interesting. Now you're going to go on before you get to the quarterback, and hopefully you're going to go on to the wide receiver, because if you want to talk about talented rooms, I'm going to start this one off. Honestly, I think Olamide Zacharias is going to be a super wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. I really do. Every single highlight in OTAs, it's him catching the ball. Every single highlight, he's involved, or he's involved in good plays. He had a great season at the Commanders last year. I really do think he's wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4 this team. I really do.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think he's definitely at least wide receiver 3. Certainly the likes of him and Tyler Scott and Miles Boykin and guys like that will be kind of fighting out for that sort of situation. But certainly, he's a guy that had a great season last year, nearly 600 receiving yards, but 6.4 yards per catch as well. Like that, it's what he's doing with the ball when he's got it as well. I think he's going to be a major addition to the team. I'm interested to see how the wide receiver room in general looks, because obviously DJ Moore, got the big extension last year, but then had quite a bit of drop in production. You had 2023 where he had 1,400 yards receiving, now down to under 1,000 last year. His yards per catch went down about 5 yards, less touchdowns. Then on top of that, there was all that sort of like body language stuff and him looking like he couldn't be arsed sometimes, and a wee bit of petulance there sometimes as well, which you sort of seen in interviews. I'm interested to see how that wide receiver room looks moving forward, because let's remember, fair enough, you've brought in Zacchaeus, who's not going to be your 1 or 2 guy, but Rome Odunze's there, who is another first round pick there, top 10 pick, who you're expecting to see a lot more from this year. Last year, arguably you didn't get a great return for as high a pick, but again, it goes back to the several issues with the offense, him in his rookie year, all that kind of stuff. You've also got then Luther Burden coming in as well. Like, what impact is he going to make in the team? How quickly is he going to rise up the depth chart as well? Guys like Tyler Scott are still kicking about. We haven't really seen anything from him. So I'm really interested to see how this overall wide receiver room looks in terms of the setup, what the plans are moving forward, not just this season, but into the future. Are all these guys still going to be sticking around? Or are we going to see the likes of Odunze maybe surpass DJ Moore and become that number 1 guy? Like, where are you with that?
And again, it's the same conversation as with the tackles. For the Bears' sake, I hope that Odunze and Burden does kick DJ out. And that's the progress you want. You want to have your rookie contracts being the main guys, and then having guys like Zacharias and Duvernay and even Tyler Scott as your backup, and then you're able to say, geez, we might get a 3rd round pick for DJ Moore, or we might get a 2nd round or whatever. Take that pick because we've got these rookie guys on rookie deals. Again, don't misinterpret that I don't think DJ Moore is a great player, that I want him in a team, that I think he's our wide receiver 1. He is. But you got to look at the long-term plan of this. You got to start planning this in a way that there's a reason why they took Burden. Yes, he was the best player on the draft at the time they picked. But also, the Bears fans, we want to have Burden and Odunze, because then we get 3 years, 4 years, 3 years for both, where they're on a rookie contract with their rookie quarterback, with potentially their rookie left tackle. Suddenly now you're able to spend money on another edge, or you're able to spend money on a linebacker or another cornerback, or whatever you want to do. That's the game. That's the sport. The more you can get your rookies involved, the more that the rookies push people out the way, that makes it better financially for your team, which allows you then, let's not forget, to have money to pay Caleb, because we hope that we get to a point where we're paying Caleb. And that's the long-term goal on this. And DJ Moore, I think, will be wide receiver 1 by the end of the year. But I hope to God that both Odunze and Burden have really pushed it, where it's like, do you know what? End of the season, DJ, we got on for the 2nd round pick. Yeah, we're going to take that. Do you know, that's the maybe extreme with 2nd round, but you get my point, that you want to have a scenario where those guys are doing it. And big year for DJ Moore. If it's a big year for Cole Kmet, it's a big year for DJ Moore. And this time 12 months ago, would you believe that conversation? 12 months ago, someone said to you, DJ might be in trouble here, or Cole Kmet might be in trouble here, or Braxton Jones might be in trouble here, or whatever else, other positions that we're going to talk about when we talk about the defense. No, you just would have gone there guaranteed. They're here for the next 4 years, 3 years. They're all on their toes. Like, it was brilliant to see Ben Johnson supposedly ripped into Cole Kmet for dropping the football in OTAs, put him on the sideline for 2 picks, has already called out DJ Moore for his body language, which you mentioned. That's what you want. You want that from your head coach. You want that from your team. You want everyone turning back up in August going, shit, man, I better be on my game here, because there's kids behind me that'll take my job and my money. And that's can only benefit the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. I love the fact that Ben Johnson's holding people accountable already. He doesn't care who you are, how long you've been there, what your record in the league has been over the last few years or whatever. Everyone's treated the same. That's what I like about this setup. And it goes back, like I said it again, accountability. That's something we didn't have before. People were getting away with stuff. And I know it wasn't great, but you still got to come to your work. You still got to put in the hard graft, even if it isn't going the way that you want it to go, or crazy decisions are being made out with your control. You can only control what you can control, and put in the effort. And I think with DJ Moore, he still had a decent season, but I mean, really, Radunzi was a couple of 100 yards behind them. And naturally, Moore kind of got a wee bit more of the ball, but I could definitely see him Dunzy overtaking him statistically this year, and certainly, hopefully, in how well he plays. But yeah, I'm interested to see how the wide receiver room works out. As I say, just from that moving forward, what's it going to look like at the end of the season? And is Roma Dunzy and Luther Burden going to be your top two guys? Because a lot of stuff to like there. Last section to talk about is the QBs. Obviously, there's no.
I think Case Keenum has a show for Austin Reed and Case Keenum have a show for QB1, don't they? Look, I'll say this for Caleb: if it's a big year for Roma Dunzy, if it's a big year for DJ Moore, big year for Cole Kmet, it's a massive year for Caleb Williams, because there's not that there's no excuses. That's extreme, but we've given him the offensive coordinator, the offensive play caller. We've given him the head coach. We've given him the coaches. We've given him the inside offensive line. We've given him another weapon or two in the case of Loveland and Burden, and we've given him the opportunity. And he's in year 2 of his contract. This is a big year for Caleb Williams. It can't be an excuse. It can't be, oh look, yeah. I'll say this. I said this 2 weeks ago. He's going to throw more picks this year. He is, because he's not got a head coach who's terrified of giving over football. So he's going to get more yards. He's going to be more impressive. He's going to win games for us. People forget this as well. I said this 2 weeks ago. Caleb Williams just get us into winning positions, and we just didn't have either the coaching staff when it came to not knowing time management, or the actual players to win us games. In the case of 1 or 2, it was unfortunately Colonel Santos with a missed kick or block kick or whatever. In other cases, it was just bad decision making by everyone. Caleb gets you into that position. Then we have the Washington game where we just had a meltdown on a Hail Mary pick. He won us that game and did the same in Green Bay at home. So the talent is there. What I will say though is it's really important for him to blend in with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson didn't draft this guy. I know he's a number 1 pick. I know he's the quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, do not be surprised if Caleb Williams doesn't succeed the way Ben Johnson's been talking. See it next. There's no hold back. And that's what we want. We want this. This is a big year for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I mean, I think realistically is by the time you get to year 3, then you definitely know at that point. You definitely know at that point what you've sort of got. I think this year is going to be a transition year. I think you're going to see some ups and downs for definite, but I'm hoping that it's channeled in the right way.
It can't be too transitional though, man. It can't be too transitional.
But it is a transition. I mean, it is a transition because effectively he is going from a college quarterback to a quarterback in the league who had no support, no mentoring, any of that kind of stuff. Not to mention the fact that it was just a really poor setup, to actually now transition into having a guy who is going to help you. So there is a transition there. There's definitely a transition there. I'm not saying that it's not accountable, and we can't say, well, if he has a bad season, then you can't blame him. You absolutely can.
I'm not expecting. I get that. I'm not expecting to be Brady in week 1 or Karen or something. I get that, but also excuses will stop pretty soon. Like for me, he's not a rookie. He's played in the league. In fact, it might benefit him by being with a shit show that was last year, because he knows what that's like. And then he's now got everything put up for him. He's got everything set aside. As long as people stay fit and everything we think is with the coaching staff is there, there is an expectation. And I think for me, I'm not saying I expect it to be Brady or expected to win games on his own, but he's the first round pick. He is the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. There's an expectation level on him, and I expect him to be at least beating his numbers by a good bit, and really like stamping himself as this is our quarterback for the next 10 years. That's what I want. By the end of this season, I want us to be sitting there going, yeah, this is the guy. I'm not saying we don't know, but this is definitely the guy. Because at the moment, we don't know. Because there's been, I think Caleb, people were saying about Caleb last year, I thought he was actually quite good. I think he actually was. I said it a minute ago. I think he won his games that we lost. And had he won then, people would be saying something different. But I think for me, I need to see that next jump. I need to see him under center. I need to see him more comfortable in passing the football. I need to see him going downfield a lot more strategically and knowledge and take over the game, which I know is there. I love the fact that they want to get rid of the petulance and the crankiness and the body language, which is there across all the Bears. Love that. Get that out of your game. Get him. He's got the weapons around him. Use the weapons. Understand what you're looking at. He's in a very tough division. He's in a very tough scenario, but this is exciting for me to watch him. But he needs to perform.
No, listen, I absolutely agree with you. There does have to be an improvement there. You need to see progress being made. There's no doubt about that. But the Bears at several different levels are transitioning in a different organisation to what they were before, and that is part of it for definite. The thing is, like Caleb Williams, like people can talk about him maybe not having the greatest season last year, and yeah, he didn't, but it was still a very good season. Yeah. You know, over 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, only the 6 interceptions, running for 489 yards as well. Do you know what I mean? So you're pushing the
running quarterbacks, Jesus,
4,000 yards there. Not to mention he broke or set 12 franchise records last year.
Well, that wouldn't be hard now, to be fair.
One NFL record as well. So
yeah, the NFL record.
Yeah, there's things that you can look at and say, man, we haven't had that in a while. So I think the trajectory is going in the right direction. But it's not. But it's still true to say that there is a transition there, and we will expect obviously improvements. I think a big thing will be having Case Keenum there as well, though. I think that's going to be a great voice in his ear. It's going to be another coach, if you like. People forget that Case Keenum back in 2017, 2018 was thrown for nearly 4,000 yards and 22 touchdowns himself. Do you know what I mean? Like the guy has a lot of knowledge to impart on Caleb, and I think that's going to be hugely beneficial for him. And then again, having your backup there with Tyson Bagent, a guy that he's familiar with from last year, it's good to have a sort of number two that you feel a wee bit confident in if anything does happen. But yeah, I mean, it's everything goes back to Ben Johnson, and we started it with Ben Johnson, and we'll finish it with Ben Johnson because it's the impact that he's going to have on the players, on the scheme, on the organization, on the culture. All that stuff is going to be something that is stuff that's not necessarily tangible, but we'll definitely hopefully notice the impact of it early on in the year. But and that's the thing as well, we need to hit the ground running, pun intended. It has to be something where we're getting off to a good start in these divisional games. We're not then going on this losing streak and not scoring touchdowns to the third quarter and all that kind of stuff. All that kind of stuff needs to change. No one's saying that they need to win the NFC and head to the Super Bowl. Like, it'd be great if that happens. But, certainly, I would expect them to be competing to get into the playoffs. And then you never know what happens after that point. But, we're at the usual kind of pre-season or off-season point where we're very excited and we think that everything's going to turn the corner. But I think it just feels a wee bit different this year.
It does feel different. It does feel different, though. It does feel different. It feels like at least we're creating a structure that gives the opportunity for our players to be successful. And then it's up to our players. And that's kind of what I meant with Caleb. It's up to the players then to go and achieve that. And that goes across the board. And there's real competition. There's going to be real interesting picks when it comes to cut day and all those kind of things. That's pretty cool. I'm excited. You want to be excited. We won the all season again. Yeah.
Again.
I just think it's much more. I always had in the back of my head consistent on my Matt Eberflus disagreement. I don't have that now. I'm excited to see what I'm seeing. We don't know what Ben Johnson's like as a head coach. Pressure does different things to different people, so it's going to be interesting. For the last 5 minutes of the show, before we
have you got anything else?
I don't. I from the offensive side of the football, I'm just excited. I can see real opportunities. I can see real depth there as well. So that's going to be pretty fun. Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I'm fired up. Not a phrase I like saying because it brings back memories of a previous GM being fired up all the time. But I am fired up. But yeah, like that. This is it now. Like, there's nothing now until training camp. Like, nothing will happen probably until training camp now. So we will try and fill the air and fill your ears as much as we can with sort of as much as we can talk about. Next week we'll come back. Next week we'll come back and we'll talk about the defense. I'm excited about that one.
Next week we'll talk about defense. We'll also talk about beer. Don't forget, look it up, lads. Not bad.
Yes, we will talk, and I will promise to be drinking next week as long as I don't have to go to the dentist again. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, guys, thanks very much for joining us today. Make sure to like and subscribe, follow the channel on X, and until next week, have a good one and cheers.